Hey, what's going on? Is somebody in the house? Is somebody watching this? I'm live after some time, after a few weeks. So hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can, please write a comment. Salam alaikum. So I already see that some people wrote something. So alaikum salam ihsan, salam food and religion, salam Rambo, salam Samira, salam Asad, salam food and religion again. And so today I wanted to talk about a topic which is interesting, and that is if religion, in particular Islam in this case, but this can be applied to multiple religions, restrict individual freedom. So I think there's a lot of things to talk about in terms of this topic. But maybe before that, let me know if you can hear me, and if yes, let me know where are you watching this from. So what country? Let's engage. Let's have a debate. And yeah, I'm just glad to do this because I spent some weeks back home during the Christian Christmas holiday, which I didn't participate in, but I was surrounded by it, and now I'm back. So it's all good, and it's all good. It's been a while since I've been on your channel. Thank you, Dinkum Dinkcom. Great name, by the way. Is that a real name? Let me know. Loud and clear. Thank you, Assad. Your opinion on Dr. Jonathan Brown. I have heard of him. I've known he wrote some books, especially on slavery. So, yeah, salam, Dr. Somi. So I think he's a solid guy. I know there's some beef between him and Daniel from Muslim Skeptic and stuff like that, but I don't really get involved in that. So yeah, I think I don't really have any opinion right now. How are you guys doing? How was your few weeks? How's everything? New Year is here, technically speaking. It's January 9th in the secular world. How's everything going? Do you have snow? Are you in Asia? Are you in Europe? Where are you located? What are your plans for the future? I don't have much plans myself, um, just some that I see on the horizon. But yeah, I'm in Bahrain. Really? That's really cool. That's really cool. USA. Awesome. Well, let's get into the topic and let me know, guys, if you want to add anything. Rahil is already on it. Assalamu alaikum. Islam doesn't restrict freedom, it does limits it because anything out of limitations is toxic. Interesting opinion. I don't agree with Brother Daniel when he attacked him. He's a great scholar. We don't have to agree. Every scholar makes a mistake, and every YouTuber, of course, makes a mistake. So don't take anything anyone says as like 100% truth, and just be cool. That's smart of you. It's good to stay away from those beefs. Of course, it doesn't help the ummah. And I've been beefing around a lot locally here. There's been a lot of beefs between different factions of not Islam, but really different like kind of scholars here. And it's so weird because we have such a small community here in Czech and Slovak Republic. And we got involved into some sort of beef here that included me. But yeah, Alhamdulillah, everything is solved. But if it happens on this small scale and we can't even understand what we want, I'm pretty sure it's impossible to get together as like an ummah in like larger scale outside of even the nations and stuff. So, the thing is like Islam is true, but everybody has an opinion. So can't do much about that. People are psychotic sometimes. People have weird problems, weird beliefs. So from Kashmir, nice. Just returned from Umrah. Oh, that's great. Man, that's my dream. Not dream, but I watch a lot of live streams from Mecca and I would love to go, inshallah, in the future. It limits in many ways, but of course it deems those restrictions as good. I have mixed feelings about people criticizing him. It's not only Daniel. Okay, cool. Let's go into the topic. So in terms of limiting the freedom, so maybe I can talk from my experience. Well, of course, we have to first define like, well, what is individual freedom? And I was just on a walk to a chocolate factory. Let's say me and my wife, we got some chocolate, liquid chocolate. It's really good. And there was a big protest here in Prague, and they are protesting COVID vaccines, right? So this is everybody knows vaccines and stuff. Everybody has a view on this, but this is not the place to discuss it. But basically, they were saying like this is limiting our freedom. Like you are pushing us to this third dose of vaccine. And I'm not saying I'm pro or against it. I'm just saying like that's an example of it, and people are rallying around the idea like this is limiting our freedom. It's not really about the vaccine itself because not many people are familiar with that in detail, and they're doctors on both sides of the spectrum. But the majority view is that it's good, let's say, and the mainstream is trying to push it, right? But these people are more concerned about the freedom and that they have to do something unwillingly, like they don't want to do it. And if they don't do it, they can't go to like a shop or a store and stuff like that. So that's a concept like everywhere. And we have to first ask, well, what is freedom, right? Like, what is an individual freedom? Does it really exist? Because the lady who was leading the demonstration, she kept saying, freedom, freedom, which is translated in our language as svoboda, svoboda. And everybody was like, yeah, but you can easily like manipulate the crowd into thinking like freedom and stuff like that without actually understanding what it means. And to be honest, it's a very vague term, and it sounds really good on paper, but at the extreme end of freedom in terms of political systems, we see probably anarchy. So no laws, no police, no state, no nothing, just like your individual freedom and you being allowed to do anything you want. On the other hand, if we decide to, let's say, limit the freedom on some stages, then we have like, let's say, there's libertarianism, which doesn't want the state getting involved in like taxes and stuff, but it will be okay with police and having a government. And then we have another like freedom, let's say conservative freedom, and then we have like a liberal, let's say, view where you have a massive social welfare and social government and stuff, and it's really intrusive. Let's say it pays for your healthcare, it pays for everything. Then you have communism, which is sort of like there's no freedom that much you can do. You're not even an individual at that point. You're more like just part of the system, and your vote means nothing. You not really vote. Even your opinion, you can't really change anything. So communism is like the total end of that freedom, let's say. And you have Islam, which is somewhere in between all of these things. And this is what's unique about Islam. And now speaking, we have two kind of ways of looking at it, as a political system and as like a religion, right? Because Islam is both. And this is like very crucial to understand, because many people talk about Islam and they mean like the political Islam. And then when they talk about religion, it's something different. So we have to distinguish between these two, because people mix it up a lot. And, you can't really, if you see something applied in a political sense in Islam, it doesn't really mean you apply that on individual level, because that is like something political. That's like, that has a specific context, right? You don't even have to be a scholar to understand this. This is pretty clear. So, yeah, in terms of actually freedom, I'm looking at if it's even possible to have super individual freedom. It's actually impossible, because that would mean that, yeah, you go to a total anarchy and you don't even have a government, right? Because the government limits your freedom. Or you don't have traffic laws, you don't have a seat belt, right? Because that limits your freedom. But at some point, humans recognize like we need some set of laws to help us, and with security and with like stuff like that. Because like if everybody expresses their individual freedom to the full extent, it won't be healthy. And this is like regardless of religion, this is just a secular understanding. And then so we understand that there is some benefit to it, and you're restricted on freedom even without religion. You have restricted your freedom. And then when it comes to your personal freedom, let's say your personal health, let's say, for example, fitness is a great example. In fitness, which I'm like doing all the time, it's like very annoying. So like you have to take at least 1 or 2 hours every day from your day, schedule it, and go and do something unpleasant. I mean, in the beginning, it's very unpleasant, but once you get used to it, it's okay. But let's say you go and you do boxing or you go for a run or a jog. It's not cool to run in winter. It's dark, it's very cold, and you keep running. There's nothing like you're doing. Why are you limiting your freedom to, let's say, watch Netflix or eat pizza? Why are you doing this? Well, you know that you want to look better or you want to lose weight. So in order to do that, you need to limit your freedom. And so you understand the result, or you understand the benefit behind it, and you're okay with limiting your freedom. And people won't say like, hey, I think fitness is limiting your freedom. I think you guys are like really hurting yourself. You should just not do it. Why are you doing this? Because everybody can see the benefit of doing that if it's done properly. So that's something as a you personally impose on yourself because you believe in your heart that this is going to help you, even though it's not. It's a long-term view, and you will suffer. Oh, short term, you will suffer every time you go out, and you have to eat properly. You can't overeat. You can't eat too much sugar, let's say, and you can't. I don't know. You should have like intermittent fasting, so you don't eat 16 hours usually when you want to lose like some fat. So all these things are limiting your freedom, right? But with at some level you have to understand like discipline is necessary for any sort of way to lose weight or to improve your health and stuff like that. In terms of like smoking cigarettes, for example, you are, let's say, enjoying your freedom to smoke cigarettes, right? But as a side effect, you're decreasing your health and causing yourself cancer, which is proven through science. Like this is happening, you know it's happening, but you prefer the short-term thing, and you are not limiting yourself. But where does that end? What's the end result? Well, everybody knows like people who smoke are unhealthy, or their lungs have less capacity to have air, and therefore they can't like jog, they can't perform sports wise, that wise, plus they are building a lot of cancer and stuff like that, and it will have results on them later in their life. And so we see like it's better if we limit the amount of cigarettes in society. And for example, in New Zealand, they completely stopped and banned selling of cigarettes, which is a secular country. They stopped selling cigarettes to everybody who's, I think, I'm not sure if there's a specific age group, but I know this was in the news lately. And it's like, hey, why do we even allow this? This is not healthy for our society because we have more people ending up in hospitals. This costs us money. So they can see from economic view, this is not healthy. From your personal health view, it's not healthy. So screw your individual freedom. You're not going to engage in that. Same with drugs. After that, I'm not talking about alcohol, which is, of course, the biggest drug, the most used drug, and the biggest problem on society right now. But I'm talking about like heroin, cocaine, and stuff like that. This is not allowed. There are only, I think, in Portugal and a couple of other countries, maybe Uruguay, where it's allowed to have hard drugs or it's decriminalized. But most societies, regardless of religion, they don't allow this to sell. And if they catch you, you go to prison or you face punishment or even death penalty in some cases, right? In like Thailand or somewhere. So the bigger impact on society, the less freedom we allow you when it comes to specific activity, right? So that's kind of like people understand this, but what people don't get is God. And nothing makes sense for an secular person if they don't understand the concept of God and if they don't believe in God, because everything they look at within religion, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or something else, they see, let's say, somebody who has to go to a church on Sunday, or I don't know, there's fasting in Christianity as well, or like on Fridays they don't eat meat and stuff like that, I think. As far as I remember, I was Christian. But in Islam, it's way more even stricter, right? You have Ramadan and stuff like that. And so people who don't have any sort of God idea or religion, they look at that like, you guys are restricting your freedom. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? And it's the same as if you would look at someone who's healthy and who's jogging, like, why are you doing that? But people get it, like, this is the benefit, right? But people don't get the benefit. People don't understand why religious people restrict their freedom. Why don't you have sex outside of marriage? On paper, even in Christianity, it's not allowed. Why don't you engage in it? It can improve like your pleasure. And why would you limit your freedom to to just one partner in your life. Or maybe in Islam you can have 4 wives, let's say, but generally speaking, people don't do that, right? But like, why would you do that? Well, there's a clear benefit that I can't explain to you because you don't even understand the idea of God. So I would have to first start with that. And this applies to every topic in terms of Islam. Why do we don't eat pigs? Why women cover? Why is there riba? Prohibition of riba? Why Muslims, I don't know, fast? Why we do all the things that are sort of obliged in Islam? Well, how can I explain it? Well, I can talk about the benefits. Maybe you will understand in terms of worldly benefits. So like if you fast, you have better health. Let's say there's proven medical things. Or if you don't eat pig and the meat from pigs, let's say they eat like very disgusting things and it's not really healthy. That's true, but that's not really the reason why I'm doing it. Because if science comes up with a way to improve the meat of pigs, would you eat it as a Muslim? Well, no, because it's written in the Quran. So it's a religious obligation. It's not based on science. So it's not based on logic or nothing like that. There's maybe logical benefits why women cover. Well, because of course, it prevents men to catcall women, to rape, let's say, women or something, because men are visually attracted to women. So if they see someone in a miniskirt, it's impossible. It's like very difficult to not look at that. And women have effect then on men, and men are stupid. So there can be and they can get into these relationships, especially if they work in the mixed environment, right? And then you have a family and it breaks up and there's a divorce because you got engaged with your coworker, and then you have a child out of wedlock without a marriage, and the child becomes a criminal because of your action as a bad father. And there's many reasons, right? But that's not why women cover. That's not the reason. The reason is because Allah said in the Quran to do this. Or there's a hadith that explains something, right? But it's not really a scientific explanation. We're not really looking for that. And so if you try to explain this to a non-religious person, you will forever run in circles in every one of these topics. I can explain to you why is a prohibition of riba really healthy for economic system where you don't create, let's say, fake real estate bubbles and economy crashes, because in Islam you have everything backed by real estate or actually real assets, so that bank is sharing risks with the consumer, and it can't fraudulently build financial products together and sell them to another financial institution, which sell them to another one, and they build a fake economy, and then the fake economy is bigger than this one, and you can't even pay the debt. If you had thousands of years of everybody collected money, they wouldn't be able to pay this debt that was created. So that's a benefit, and you can understand it, but you would still say, well, okay, but I'm still gonna do mortgage, or I'm still gonna do these things because you don't believe in Allah, you don't believe in God, right? And so that's so easy. It's everything has to be tied back to Allah. And so when because then you need to improve. People will get the benefit, because otherwise you're only implying that there's a worldly benefit in all of these things. There's only worldly benefit. Why women cover, why we don't eat riba, eating pigs, all these things. There's why you pray 5 times a day, why you're restricting your freedom. Well, worldly benefits, right? But it's not worldly. For a religious person, there's a concept of hereafter, and there's a concept of having benefits that are everlasting and that can help us. But in order to explain those, I will have to explain to you the idea of Judgment Day and God and everything like that. And so unless you have an idea of those things already figured out, or already like a foundation, then none of the things we can explain to you based on scientific research or whatever will make sense, because you don't actually acknowledge the benefits of the hereafter. And everything a religious person does is usually not because of the worldly benefits, but because of the benefits after death. And since you think death is the end, then that's the end of discussion. So every one of these topics, such as limiting individual freedom, eating haram, has to come back to, is there a God? Is there a life after death? Was there a prophet in the past, any prophet, that claimed that there is something after people die? How likely is it? Should we trust them? Did they perform miracles? Do we have any sort of way to verify their claims? Why would we even believe in this stuff? Where's the evidence? And we can look at that. And now we can get into actually sort of dawah, but actually making a case why we think, let's say, Islamic view is the right view, and Christian can present why they believe the Christian view is the right view. And once you establish, like, okay, we believe in the hereafter, we believe in the judgment day, we believe we will be rewarded based on the good deeds and bad deeds, and ultimately it's the mercy of Allah that will save us. And then you have this other existence in Jannah or Jahannam, and in terms of that this is how it looks like, and that's going to be eternal based on your behavior in this world, in this dunya. And so this is the baseline. Do you understand it? Do you have any questions? How do we know this? Well, there's this hadith science, there's this Quran which was revealed. How do we know it's preserved? Well, because, okay, I can get into that, and we can now debate each of these topics. And once we establish there's the Quran, there's the hadiths, there's Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there's all these things, there's a bunch of prophets before him, there's this is the creation, the first man, and all these things. Now it makes sense. So it's all about tying it back to, is there something after death? Is there Allah? Is there a God? And so that's just my view. I don't know. I think I ranted for a while now, so I think I should be quiet. But basically, this is my view on the topic of restricting individual freedom. And so people, if they are secular or not religious, to explain it to them, you can't talk about it that much, because you have to first give them the grounds to understand it, the perspective, and the perspective is the religious glasses. You have to put religious glasses on them and get their consent, like, okay, I don't ask you to believe in this, but do you understand that this is what we believe? So in this view, it makes sense, right? Because if we don't pray, this is what's going to happen, and this happens if we pray. And if we do riba, well, then there's a sin, and this sin is not going to help us on the day of judgment, and we do everything we can to avoid the punishment. So we want to do good deeds. So do you get that? And so all these things are acts of worship, and they all help us. And so they can then understand, okay, these guys see the benefit in this, so they don't really view restricting their individual freedom as something bad, because the reward is much bigger, and actually they're achieving sort of ultimate freedom by this, because they are achieving a freedom of leaving this world behind, this dunya, let's say, because in this dunya, to be honest, you can never achieve this freedom. As we discussed, this would be anarchy. So in this dunya, that's not possible. And in the hereafter, there's no government, there's no like law, there's no like, let's say, imagine Jannah, and then there's like a system, a political system. This is not applicable there. It's a completely different existence. And so we want to pursue that, and that's kind of what it is. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to read some of your comments. And yeah, as one more thing, in Islam especially, like, there is a concept of individual freedom, and you do have individual freedom, let's say, to enjoy food that you want to enjoy, which is halal. Everything that's halal, and it's permissible, and that's within your individual freedom. So you can have sex with your wife, that's halal, or you can eat this food if it's halal, or you can travel, or you can do all these things. This is not a problem. But you have the halal and the haram option, and so you should prefer the halal option. And so anything that kind of goes against the family, then let's say you have a family and you have kids and you want to sleep with another woman, well, you can't really. Besides everything, your family has rights over you. Your wife and your kids have rights over you. So your freedom now decreases, and it takes a second place, and it's more about their rights. And now that's kind of the second step. And then above that, there's society. So the society has is more important than family or you as a person, but you have a intrinsic value as a human being, because you're a creation of Allah. So in Islam, it's not like communism where we don't recognize individuality. It's actually everyone is a creation of Allah. So that's like everyone is a spiritual being in a sense. Well, you can't just like kill someone or something like that. It's, in a very specific cases. So the society has you have a societal obligation, and there's an obligation to Allah, to God at the end. And so it all comes from Allah. anyways, that's kind of what it is. So your individual freedom is there. It's kind of beneath all these layers. So you have the freedom, the obligation to Allah, obligation to society, obligation to family, and at the end you have your individual freedom. Everything ties back to Allah. So to explain this process, you have to first establish Allah, which we just kind of discussed. Woo! And actually, yeah, one more thing. Religion in its let's say as a system doesn't really have power to do anything to you unless you believe in that religion. Once you believe in that religion, then you have a choice whether you abide by that religion or you don't abide by that religion. But as a believing person, you choose to abide by it, right? So religion actually doesn't have the power just like randomly, but you have to buy into that religion, right? And so once you buy in, you should abide by it, because you will have cognitive dissonance. You will believe something and you won't act accordingly. And this must be done without any push or like force or stuff like that. You have to yourself decide, I want to do this. If a society or somebody like will force you to believe this, you will never do that because you don't believe it in your heart. So only it has to be genuine, and of course it's kind of what it is. So there's no forcing someone to be religious if they don't want to be, because it's impossible. How can you build taqwa of Allah, or how can you build like this deen or value or belief in God and in the hereafter if you don't believe in it? So the person has to willingly submit themselves. That's all it is. You can't submit someone by forcing them. Kind of what it is. All right, guys, let's look at the comments. Thank you so much, Shahid. This is crazy. 40. What's the thing? What's the currency here? Is this the Indian currency? Let me know. Thank you. The Muslim apologist 5MYR. Thank you again. I've never got any donation before, so this is very valuable. Thank you, guys. All right, I'm just gonna look at some comments. All right, so I think he has misunderstood. He's saying we should respect others according to conventions in the country. The freedom is indeed used against Islam regarding women. Again, this is irrelevant because, as we discussed before, you talk about this, you have to understand if this person understands the benefit of being religious or being Muslim. If they don't, well, then you have to explain those benefits before you explain this topic, because nothing will make sense after that. Nah. All right, salam. No pain, no gain. But choosing to exercise is an example of freedom itself. Yes, but by choosing to exercise, you are also limiting, because you are actually going to limit the amount of food you will, let's say, eat, right? You have to. Or you will have to go through pain, because exercise is not pleasant. You have to go through pain, like physical pain, to achieve a result. So you're actually putting restraints on yourself. You don't have to go through that pain. Why would you go through that pain? Well, there's a benefit. So again, yeah, but actually it's a freedom. Like the freedom is also like to be religious. That's a freedom, right? So everything can be kind of like you have a freedom to be also like a communist, like, but so everybody can choose in that sense. Yeah, everything can be like a freedom of expression, but more like an individual freedom. You're restricting yourself in a sense of gym or exercise, right? Consistent exercise increases happiness, of course. If people don't exercise who are watching the stream, you should get on it, and it's gonna change your life. My friend in school fasted on Wednesday. She wouldn't eat chocolate or sweets. Is that because of the fitness, or is it because of religion? Both are good. I just did actually Ramadan this week, because I had one day that I missed last Ramadan, so I was doing it and it was really intense. Yeah, fasting is great. Fasting is necessary if you want to lose weight or be fit. People just hate Islam. Oh yeah, science got no tools to explain values. True. And also, like, yeah, as we said, the benefits. It's really crucial to get to the topic of benefits. So you have to understand that it's all about the benefits in the hereafter. Otherwise, it's very difficult to explain this to people, because they will see like women are covered. They could express their bodies. But that would go against the idea that we just talked about. There's always a snowball effect, whatever the issue is. I am Abdul Rahman from Egypt. Hey, what's up? Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. One should have open mind. Yes, that's true. Freedom, tax, insurance, laws. What's the point here? Um, well, yeah. I mean, as we discussed, you have no, in a sense, in the society, you can't have freedom because you have a government. And if you abolish taxes, laws, and insurance, you will get anarchy. So yeah, that's the best. If you want ultimate individualistic freedom, you have to live in anarchy. It doesn't exist in this world. Even there are small groups of these anarchists, but they live in these small, like, neighborhoods in some European cities, and they just live in trash. they don't they don't work in economy. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to contribute anything because they don't believe in the system. But they still live in it. They still are part of the geographical landscape. So this is being an anarchist is like a weird thing. I don't get people who are like anarchists. I've met a couple in my past. Like, these are really strange people because, like, at some point you have to decide as a tribe. Let's say you live in a tribe. You have to decide, like, guys, we need some rules because everybody's doing everything. Alhamdulillah. Oh, this guy, I know him from the UFC. Is that, what's his name? Hezbollah, right? Is that Hezbollah? Mir is Malaysian, right? Oh, awesome. Man, I want to go to Malaysia. Oh, yeah. Yes, Malaysian ringgit. It's cool. No, I understand better what you mean, Bernay. Which books are you reading now? I mean, I'm going to be honest, and it's very strange. I'm still just reading this book because it's so difficult to read it. It's not easy. Like, I'm not good at it. The other books I've read were pretty easier. But right now, actually today, I sat down and I've read 15 pages. And usually I'm like, reading is not really my priority. But now, this was the chapter, The Battle of Uhud. And this was really crazy because it's based on the authentic hadiths. And it talks about basically everything, how they went to battle, what was the armor around Muhammad, peace be upon him, who killed who, how they were killed, the strategy around the war, and a lot of things, have been cleared up here. And there's a lot of, let's say, hadiths. So, for example, note that the paradise is beneath the shadow of the swords, the Prophet said. But this was in the context of being in the battle of Uhud, sort of talking to his companions. So if you take it out, it doesn't make sense, but you have to look at it in the context, right? Like, this is so important in Islam. You can't take these hadiths out of context, because if you say, like, okay, I'm just going to kill everyone because this is the hadith, like, what? This doesn't make sense, right? And this is what these crazy people do who are extremists, who take these things and they don't understand, like, there was this battle of Uhud. This was the location. It was a defensive war. So the Meccans, 3,000 Meccans were coming in, and there were 1,000 people in Medina, and they were fighting a defensive war, right, to actually survive. So very good, but very difficult to read. Like, it's I don't know. I'm just lazy. Muslim apologies. Yeah, I thought I'd be here. Nice country. Being religious is a freedom. Yes, but people don't get it. Like, you choose freedom, which limits you. How crazy is that? You choose a religion which limits you, right? But this is the same case as with, like, choosing to be fit, choosing to work for a corporation where you work 18 hours a day and you don't see sunlight and you become obese or something, but you work there because your career, you want to become VP of sales and you want to make, let's say, $500,000 in a year. So you have to sacrifice your free time. No family, no fitness, no nothing. I'm just going to work for this corporation so that I can achieve this goal, this benefit. So you limited your freedom to do all these other things, to spend time with your family, with your kids, all these things, because you are obsessed with this thing. So as a Muslim, you just choose to worship God, because that's the best thing to do. Because the more you perform these acts of worship, and the more you get closer to him, and the better your life gets, even in the dunya. So it's better, because otherwise you have to pick something. So if you're not religious, you still have some object. So whether my mom, she's not religious and she is obsessed with fitness, that's her north star. But at some point she will be 80 and she won't be able to do anything. What is going to happen then? You know, or someone is obsessed with a career, but at some point they will burn out at 50 or 60. What's going to happen then? And so you're putting these artificial goals there, which are limiting your freedom, and they don't actually add any value, only in this life. And yeah, so it's all about just understanding the hereafter, inshallah. Before you were a Muslim, do you see the value of modesty in wearing of hijab, or only oppression? Well, if I recall my view, I think I view it as oppression. I definitely didn't see it as the value of modesty, because as I explained before, as a non-Muslim, or as even like in different religions, right, women cover, you see it as backwards. So this is how I saw it. Like, this is the honesty. You see everyone who's like covered, you see like, man, I wish I could help them. These women are covered, like they actually believe there's this God, and he forces them to cover them to protect them from what? Like, what? This is so dumb. Like, uh, I wish I could help them. We should invade these countries and just save these people, because this is how I thought. This is how people think here. Everyone thinks like this. This is true. Everyone in my colleagues thinks like this. They see a woman in hijab, or let's say in India, covered, or in different religions. They are like, man, what? Why would they do that? Like, we need to liberate them. Let's educate them. I don't know, like, why are they covering themselves? They can do so much. And behind every social engineering, behind everything like that, is actually economic motive, because you can sell more products to them. Then women are buying a lot of cosmetics and stuff like that. And so if they are pushed into this modern, let's say secular way, they will buy more things, because as a Muslim woman, they don't need that much, right? And so yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the same with actually climate change and stuff like that. Like, it all sounds good and corporations are jumping on it, and you think like, oh, what a great way, what a great society we're building. And then you realize that actually there's this EDG score, and this score actually affects the way you sell ETFs on the stock exchange, which is like a complicated term, but basically each company on a stock exchange has like a value and like a credit score, and that score is determined by this system, this EDG or whatever. And one of these letters in this EDG is actually climate change. So this will they will look at your company, how climate change compliant is it, what protocols you've implemented. The same with like sex and like number of women management and LGBT stuff and stuff like that. And then you will get a score which will affect the price of your stock or the price of your company. So of course you will abide by these rules because you want to make more money. It's not that you want to change the climate change or you want to help these things and stuff, and you want to like have more women in management. This is just a charade on the outside. It's actually, hey, our stocks are tied into this index, and this index is determined by this agency who needs to calculate our index on these three things. And so we need to do this. So it's like a system, right? So yeah, it's just a side note. Salam. My friend was a practicing Christian, so I guess in her church they fasted on Wednesdays. It's crazy. Never heard that Christians were fasting that much. They can fast without water, with water actually. So actually, I don't know why I'm saying this, but like yesterday we had like a crazy good shahada here in Prague. There was a guy who came here, and he reminded me of myself in a way where he started praying like 2 months before he became a Muslim. Then he visited the mosque and stuff, and he's just reading about Islam all the time. He doesn't speak English, so he needs a lot of Czech resources. But we did shahada with the sheikh and stuff, and it was really cool. And yeah, I'm not sure why I'm saying that, but yeah, he asked me like why women cover and stuff. So I sent him a video that I did with this sister that's on my YouTube about in my language, where she explained the benefits. But Actually, I just said to him the same advice as I said here. Like, none of that makes sense if you don't talk to people about Allah. Because then once you establish Allah exists, then everything else will make sense. Because otherwise, it's not logical. It's not. It goes against the understanding, right? Actually, that's advice I got from Mohammed Hoblos. Science can never explain morals as we are made of atoms. Yeah, but I'm not talking about morality at this point. Because you can be moral, like you can see value in these things, and you don't have to be part of religion. Actually, you can have morality that you adopted. Like my wife, maybe she adopted morality from me. She's not a Muslim, by the way. She's a Christian, but she sees a value in, let's say, not exposing yourself as a woman, because she just sees it. She doesn't tie it back to the thing, but I knew nothing about Islam or hijab, and I'm interested in it. It's propaganda, when it makes people hate Islam practices clothing. Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's not like people in the West are just sitting waiting for Islam. Islam is not really interesting to even discuss. Like, people have more concerns here, like how to make money and stuff like that. Like, Islam is the last thing, and the only thing they see is like, okay, these women cover, men have beards, kind of crazy people. They scream Allahu Akbar and want to blow us up. All right, what do you do? I don't really want them in my country. They should respect our values and our culture. When they come here, they should learn our language, and they should remove the hijabs because we don't wear them. So this is the usual view we have here, because it's not something interesting, like, maybe we all the time we think about Islam and stuff like that, but people don't actually think about it. Like, you have to understand, like, there's so many things in the world. People don't think about one thing. Like, you don't think all the time about nuclear physics or about like something that like one scientist is obsessed with every day. You just know about it and you have some shallow view of it, but everything is like that. So I can't really blame them, because you would have to then explain Buddhism and all these things, and no one cares about this. Like, it's a tough world. If you are a Muslim girl, you can even ride a bicycle or go for jogging. If I know it wrong, correct me. By the way, I don't know if this is correct, but I don't think it's correct. Why would you not go ride a bicycle? Tell me that. I don't think you have a correct information, but I'm not a sheikh, but definitely not a correct information. I saw, like, there are Muslim women competing in jogging or riding bicycles. So let me know where you got that from, and I'd be happy to understand your source, because Muslim women can for sure compete in sports. They can go and make money. They can go to work. They can educate themselves. They can even ride a bicycle. I don't know, maybe there's some country like in Afghanistan or something that doesn't allow it, but that's not like Islamic. So let me know. According to thermodynamics, second law, absorption leads to chaos. Very good. I haven't thought about the thermodynamics law in this sense. We're all carbon atoms, but even animals in the wild have their ways of living in a group. Makes sense. All right. People are arguing about women if they can run. As a former Christian myself, my family didn't eat meat Fridays during Lent, but I knew many families who would fast with respect to meat. Yeah, we did the same. I think on Fridays we didn't really eat meat, but we just did it, but we didn't really connect it to God or nothing. It was just like a thing we did. Second step to show Muhammad is the true prophet. Yeah, but that's more difficult. To prove Allah exists, or not prove, but like to show people like, okay, this is actually possibility. That's the core. Then Muhammad is a true prophet. It's gonna take much longer, because you have this distorted view, and it's very difficult. Plus, you have a lot of hurdles. So I'm talking from my experience. Is running the only beneficial exercise? A Muslim has to make a choice between deen and what they want. Is running the only beneficial exercise? So I have a routine. I do 3 exercises only. For example, I'm gonna run after this live stream. Inshallah, I will go to a mosque. This is what I did as like I have this system now. Every Sunday at around 5 6 p.m. I go to a mosque, which is like the biggest one here. It's in the end of the city. I will drive there 20 minutes, and it will be alone. I'm going to be alone there and just like chill out for 25 minutes, just chill out, because I love to be alone in the mosque. I like Jumma and I like to be with friends sometimes, but it's distracting, and sometimes I don't really get deep into what I, sometimes it's, you need that time with Allah alone, and I like it. And it's Sunday. It's a day before the week starts. And tomorrow, actually at 5 a.m., I have to drive to big mountains, and we have this company meeting, and I have to do a lot of workshops and stuff. And so I will be driving 3 hours from like 5 and to 8 a.m. and there's snow, so I know it's going to be a difficult day. And then I'm going to be in this cottage or whatever you call it. It's like a hut in the mountains. But anyways, so, and then after the mosque, I'm going to go jogging. So I'm going to combine two things, right? But yeah, jogging is crucial if you want to have cardio and lose weight, because it's free, and but not everybody can do it properly. But you need like at least 1 hour or 1 hour 10 20 minutes to jog. And then there's ways to do it where you can speed up and slow down as you go. Then I do boxing, but you need to really know how to throw punches, and you need the trainer. At this point, I don't have a trainer. I just go to do like bag. Yeah, I have a bag, and then I just do bag. I just hit the bag for like 1 hour and something. It's the best exercise of all because it combines strength with like push-ups and stuff. And yeah, it's really good if you can't jog. And then I do like calisthenics, which is like you just pulling yourself on, doing push-ups, doing sit-ups and stuff like that in the park. And that's really great to increase your strength. Like, I'll tell you a secret. When I started with calisthenics, it was last year in September. Push-up. So you go like this, and you want to pull yourself like above the thing. And I could do like one or two push-ups. I could do like one or two. I couldn't like the real one. I was just like, so there was no strength in me. And it took me like 4 months. And at the end, I was able to do like 9 in a row. And that really like increases your strength. So just doing twice or 3 times a week, it's really mind blowing, because you will get much more stronger from calisthenics, working with your own weight, than having gym equipment. And like, I would not recommend going to lift weights at all. I would stay out of that, because you can maybe look better, not better. You can maybe have bigger muscle at some point. You can have bigger muscle, but you will be less stronger than I am, because I can do 8 pull-ups and you can still do just one, but you have a bigger muscle. Your strength didn't improve, right? And so, yeah, maybe that's my advice. I live in a mid-sized city, and that was before Dawah channel, so I had not learned about Islam at all. Women can ride bikes a mile. It's not like running in public. If you go run somewhere quiet. My favorite is boxing, weights, and sometimes running. Cardio is very important for a clear mind. Exactly. Yeah, I have the same thing. Sometimes, weights are okay. Mix it up, but if you just depend on weights, that can be a problem. I never fasted before Islam. Calisthenics are pretty fun, yeah. But it's really like amateur. It's really like how would I put this? You feel like crap because you go there and you see these guys who are like pulling themselves and doing all this crazy stuff, and they are like really strong, and you can't even do one pull up, and you feel like they will laugh at you, but actually no one will laugh at you because they all respect you for even showing up in this park. And usually I do this outside in the park. I never do this in the gym, even in the winter. And so calisthenics is the best thing I've ever discovered, because it helped me. I lost weight with fasting and with jogging, but I formed my body sort of and increased my strength with calisthenics. The gym didn't help me or stuff like that. Born and raised in Ontario, really? That's crazy. Istanbul, Turkey. That's awesome. Well, guys, it's been nice to be here, but I can't wait to go to the mosque and just chill, just empty my head. But yeah, as we discussed, I think we had a pretty good live stream. And again, it's all coming back to, you can explain all these things, individual freedom and stuff like that, but it all ties back to Allah. It all ties back to, well, if there is God, then this whole makes sense. If there isn't, then it doesn't. So why don't we focus on that point? Cool. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. I'm gonna end it right here. And thank you for the donations, by the way. And I will then catch up with you, inshallah, next week. And we'll see how it goes, man. But yeah, might have some secret interviews prepared with some good guests. So stay tuned. And I'll see you in a week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. And have a good weekend. Goodbye.